Mr. Ford, sorry to keep you waiting, sir.
Thank you, Your Honor. Please, the court. Before you is Keyshawn Evans. Warrant numbers 2025 A16104000355. That's trafficking meth. Second, 2024 A16101000219. Trafficking meth. Second, 2022 A16101000218. Trafficking of meth. Second. Your Honor, we're here on the issue of bond, and before we go to defense counsel, if I could explain a little bit about the mechanism of what brought us here.
Yes, sir.
Your Honor, Mr. Evans is presently out on bond for indictment numbers 2025 GS16 00422. That's trafficking meth or cocaine base, and 2025 GS16 00423. That is unlawfully possessing a sawed-off shotgun. Those have an incident date of January the 25th of 2025. He was also out on bond on indictment number 2024 GS16 2276. That's failure to stop for a blue light. But I'll come back to that in a little bit, Judge. So
he's out on two separate bonds?
He's out on two separate bonds. He got a PR bond for the October 24 failure to stop. He got a surety bond for the January 2025 trafficking case. After being served with the January 25 trafficking case, law enforcement then went back and charged him with warrant numbers that I called out ending in 218 and 219. That's two trafficking meths. Those have incident dates of 7/12/24 and 7/26/24, Your Honor. So even though they were served after the January cases, their date of incident were prior to the January cases. And that's going to be important in a moment, Judge.
All right, so let me make sure I get this. The January 2025 was for trafficking meth and coke. That's one of the three that you read out?
It's one of the four I read out. There's three new.
Right.
There's one quote unquote existing old.
And that's the existing old one.
That he has a bond.
Okay, so and he's got a surety bond in what amount?
In the amount of $8,000 according to my notes.
Okay. So trafficking meth and coke and unlawful possession of a sawed-off shotgun, he's out on that for $8,000 surety, and then for blue light, he was out on a PR bond.
Correct.
And then the law enforcement went back and charged him with the two or three?
With two trafficking meths from July of 24.
Right. Okay.
Those are the warrant numbers ending in 219 and 218.
Okay. So we're missing one more.
The last one, warrant number ending in 355, that has an incident date of 3/7/25. So that one occurred since the January 25 when he's out on bond for.
Got it.
So
that's the one he's not been set for bond on?
He hasn't had bond set on the two July ones or the March one.
Got it.
But with that being said, Your Honor, this whole bond scenario, the reason I belabor the point of this is this bond scenario triggers the new bond statute under 171555 subsection C, because trafficking is a violent crime. He was out on bond for trafficking when he was picked up on the March of 25 new trafficking. And that new trafficking is a violent crime as defined under the new bond statute.
Right.
Now, under that statute, his January of 25 bond was automatically revoked as a matter of law and has to be reviewed by Your Honor at the same time as deciding whether or not Your Honor wants to grant a bond on the March of 25 case.
Right.
However, that is distinguished from the two July of 24 cases. Those occurred prior. They're not a triggering instance.
Right, right.
So that's why I belabored and explained.
No, I appreciate that.
Yeah. So we are here to set bond on 3 warrants. However, only one of the 3 triggers the new bond statute in question that requires Your Honor to do an analysis as to whether or not to reinstate the January 25 bond at the same time that you decide whether or not to grant a new bond on the March charge.
Right, and if I find that the bond is appropriate, then it's got to be a cash bond.
Correct, Your Honor. Must be a cash bond.
All right.
And I can give a little bit more specific facts outside of the procedure now or whenever Your Honor wants.
Well, go ahead and give it to me just so I'll get your perspective of the facts, and then I'll get them from Mr. Buck.
So with regard to the March of 25 trafficking, it is charged as a trafficking, but actually what it is, Your Honor, it's a distribution case. Law enforcement conducted a controlled buy in the Hartsville area of Darlington County with a confidential informant that was formatted with audio and video monitoring equipment. And the allegation is that Mr. Evans sold in that transaction 21.5 grams of methamphetamine. So that is what triggered it as a trafficking rather than just a distribution based on the weight of the amount that was sold. The 2 July of 24 charges that do not have a bond at the present time are the exact same facts that occurred on respective dates. On warrant number ending in 219, he sold what's alleged to be 18.55 grams. That's what made it trafficking. On the warrant number ending in 218, it's alleged that he sold 14.36 grams. This is a second offense, Your Honor. Mr. Evans has a prior drug conviction. He was convicted of PWID and/or distribution. I can't tell which one it is from the NCIC, Your Honor. One was for a Schedule 1, 2, or 3. The other one was for meth or cocaine base. So that was 2 convictions back in November of 2017. The state's position here is that this young man, the allegations are that he's moving a considerable amount of weight of methamphetamine. I do not have any indication that he is a flight risk in that he would necessarily leave the jurisdiction. However, the failure to stop for a blue light does indicate that he's had a prior history of not following the commands of law enforcement. As far as danger to the community, Your Honor, he's convicted of drug crimes previously, and as Your Honor knows, drugs are a scourge in Darlington County. They're a root of so many of the property and violent crimes that we have here, and we respectfully believe that he is a danger to the community and ask that the bond for the January trafficking continue to be revoked and that no bond be granted on the new trafficking.
All right. All right. Yes, sir. Your motion.
Thank you, Judge.
Yes, sir.
You know, it's a convoluted set of facts, but a few things I want to point out to the court. He's arrested in January. Law enforcement sit on 2 warrants where they allege he sold a quantity of drugs to a confidential informant. They charge him with trafficking, which triggers the new bond statute. And in his last arrest, they say he sells a quantity of methamphetamine, 21 grams. But curiously, they say it's for $120. Now, I've defended and represented a lot of people in drug cases. 21 grams is that part doesn't add up. But when he was arrested in January, what they should have done was serve all these warrants on him. They come back, they wait, then they arrest him. And it's kind of a thing that's sort of frowned on in other jurisdictions. I don't know, most places they don't do that. They just don't arrest you, make buys, and then come back and try to arrest you, months later. They try to wrap it all up and bring it all, present it all to the judge at the time. But Judge, with all that being said, that drug conviction was in 2018, and and this is no knock against the solicitor's office, but if he got convicted in 2018, the incident date probably was 3 or 4 years prior, just because of the way court moved here and the terms of court. So I would argue that for the past 10 to 12 years, he really hadn't had any problems with drugs until these last series of arrests. Judge, I would ask the court to consider a reasonable cash bond. And what's reasonable for a cash bond, it just depends on who it is. I would ask the court to consider somewhere in the range between $500 and $7,500. He has a wife that's sitting in the back of the courtroom, children that she needs help with. I heard the argument about him being a danger to the community and drugs being a scourge in Darlington County. I think that's just a simple fact everywhere, but there's another important point. He's presumed to be innocent of these crimes. I would ask the court to set bond in this matter, Judge, based on the argument that I've made to the court. And I understand the state's concerns, but if they think he's running around selling all these drugs in Darlington, what the court could do is set a bond on him and put the condition on him that he must stay in the home with his wife and his children until he gets these matters resolved.
All right. Well, if this was one charge, it'd be one thing. 4 counts of trafficking is, and look, I understand what you're saying, that typically they might be brought together, but I've got to work with what's in front of me under the bond statute. I don't think I have any discretion about having to order an all-cash bond if I order one.
Judge, I don't want to cut you off.
No, go ahead.
One more thing I want to point out. I think the state has conceded this is really a distribution. And where he sits, I think bond is appropriate. If it were true trafficking, and that'll be something that's dealt with later. But I think they have conceded the fact that it should be a distribution charge. But you can't change it now. But that's something that can be addressed.
Mr. Forty says y'all considered that this is a distribution case and not a trafficking case.
The act was an act of distribution. However, the weight places it into the charging category of a trafficking.
Now, how much time would he be facing looking at the 4 counts of trafficking plus possession of a sawed-off shotgun and failure to stop for blue light?
He's looking at 5 to 30 per trafficking, and then the failure to stop for blue light is minor by comparison.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, anytime that there's drugs, it doesn't have to be this much weight, but it makes it that much more serious. Along with a weapon such as a sawed-off shotgun, makes me very nervous. Somebody that would have, whether it's distribution or possession or trafficking or whatever, having 4 counts.
And just I can't point out on that.
Sawed-off shotgun.
The sawed-off shotgun arrest was in a residence where other people was present. I don't think they alleged he got stopped and had it on. It was a result of a search warrant raid on a home that he didn't live in. He just happened to. He wasn't there when the raid occurred. There was a co-defendant that said, "Hey, this is his room." They found the drug. He wasn't even there on that particular incident.
And Your Honor, if we're going to talk about incident locations,
and I don't want to get into I understand that he disputes all these charges. I've got to work with what he's charged with. And if that wasn't the case, then everybody would get bond every single time because they disputed. I understand that there are going to be disputes, but I've got to go with what he's charged with. And the fact that he has got 4 trafficking charges plus possession of a sawed-off shotgun and running from the police, clearly give me pause here. All right, I will. I'm gonna set. And so this. And so am I being asked to set bond also on the July 2024?
Yes, Your Honor. He has no bond on the 2
Right.
warrant numbers ending in 218 and 219, which are July of 24.
Right.
So if Your Honor's granting a bond, you will have to grant bond on those as well.
You just can do one global bond for all of these.
Correct, Your Honor.
All right. All right. Well, again, given the seriousness of those and the I'll tell you what. Let me think about this one, and I'll give you a decision today. But I need to think about this one. The new bond statute. I need to make sure I've got my head around that issue as well, and so I'll let you know in just a couple hours.
Yes, sir.
I just don't want to. I just want to look these things over quickly, and I'll get back to you.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Adam.
This is Christian News TY. I'm Tony Carney. Is there any newsworthy events? We will get them to you as soon as possible. If not, you can follow us on Christian News TY Facebook. You can follow us on YouTube, and you can follow us on our website.